Kawasaki SX-X be the playful ski contender that we're sleeping on? If Kawasaki was to bring back the iconic X2 name, could we have a 3-horse nostalgic race on our hands? In today's video, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the SX-X, a highly asked for ski on the channel, so I'm going to cover all the details and get into it. Guys, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and let's get into the video. So the Kawasaki SX-X is a bit of a mouthful to say. X2 sounds way better, Kawasaki. As we continue the campaign from both Sea-Doo and Yamaha for that lightweight playful sit-down model, is the stand-up variant of the XX platform, because we see it in the XXR 160. It's essentially the same ski. They've now gone to a fixed handlebar, and they've obviously tried to rekindle some of that 90s, well 80s and 90s X2 spirit. Now it's not a direct X2 copy, so don't get too excited. It kind of flew under the radar for me. It was released in, I think, late December last year. We saw the promotional video, which I'm going to go through with you guys today. At the time, I was excited because I was thinking, X2-y sort of vibes there. But if you look at it closely, it really is a stand-up platform that has a fixed handlebar. So it's kind of making stand-ups more approachable for anyone that's pivoting maybe from a sit-down model. Now, why on paper that could be a big deal for us sit-down riders that are looking for a bit more technicality in their riding, is certainly something that I've been searching for on both my Spark and potentially on the jetblaster. We're obviously making a ton of videos on the jetblaster at the moment, but in essence, we want playfulness, but we want performance in our riding. Now, performance a lot of the time technically goes hand in hand with rider compliance. Now, rider compliance ultimately is about rider skill, and technicality, I think you're going to find in abundance in something like the XX-160, because it is basically came from a stand-up platform. Now, the fixed handlebar is going to be a point of contention for your hardcore stand-up riders. They're going to say, oh, it's a learning aid. And for your sit-down riders, it probably will be a nice pivoting tool, something that you would have become super familiar with on any sit-down model, because we have fixed handlebars. And one of the biggest things that I noticed from riding a 2024 Superjet last year at Tattershall was that the learning curve, it's not necessarily to do with being able to stand up if you're fit and you're able. It's actually to do with the dexterity and the cognition of the actual stem of the stand-up and the body positioning. Now, that is something that excites me, and I am searching at the moment for a 550 Kawi or a square nose stand-up Yamaha. But I do think that if we're getting frustrated with the playful offerings from the big two giants in Yamaha and Sea-Doo, could Kawasaki be the ski to enter the race? And if you're a sit-down rider, a one-person rider, that is your playful ski that you have designated. Now, if we take a closer look spec-wise at the SX-X 160, guys, I'm literally just going to start saying 160. It's such a mouthful every time. When you try to say it fast, even harder. Put in the comments if you think they should just bring back X2. If we look at the 160 closely, it's got a 1500 naturally aspirated 4-stroke engine, so it's going to have power and abundance. Now, comically, when you look at the 160 in the stand-up variant, so the R variant, when that came out, I want to say around 2017. Remember, I'm not a stand-up guy, so don't come for me. But my understanding of when they brought that in, they called it the stand-about. Sit-down riders always get absolutely jibed for calling us the couch riders. Well, in terms of the stand-up world, this actually weighed 249 kilos, I want to say, in terms of that whole dry weight, of course. And obviously for you American guys, you're working in pounds, we're kilos in the UK. Don't come for me. But if you look at something like the jetblaster dry weight, so no fuel, nothing in it, is 244 kilos. So we're not seeing a ton of difference in terms of weight between a sit-down, a modern day sit-down, and that stand-up platform. But where they're going to differentiate is the technicality in terms of leg positioning, in terms of the fact that you're going to be standing up, you're not going to be sitting down. Where that gets quite interesting, the debate I think gets more fruitful, is X2 back in the 80s and 90s when it was raced and the enthusiasts that loved it. They spent most of their time on their knees or standing, and the little kind of seat, it was a seat, but it was a very small seat, was not actually used. So 95% of the time you were stood up anyway. So it kind of was a bridging ski at the time. Now, that's not to say the new 160 stand-up fixed handlebar that Kawi brought in is essentially an X2. It's a stand-up platform, whereas the X2 was a much lower posture ski. So you would be lower in the corners on your knees and stuff, bent over more. So don't expect it to be exactly like an X2. I think the marketing efforts do need to go to X2 for Kawi. I think they really would be in a position there where we've got Yamaha at the moment that are starting to bring back jetblaster. I do think they'll go waveblaster eventually. Sea-Doo got to drop in the hat XP in my opinion. And then if Kawi could come with the X2, we would have 3 of the historical iconic models there, all clash of, you know, the 3 titans. I just think it could be amazing. What a time to be alive. Now, for anyone that's new to the 90s spirit, it's something that I bang on, is a lot of the spirit of the channel, which is keeping the classics alive, and it's the lightweight, playful spirit. The 90s and 80s was all about rider connection to the water. You had to be fit, you had to be agile, and to get the most out of these skis, you really had to put in the work. A lot of that's been lost over the years, and obviously the whole PWC industry has shifted and moved. I'm not going to cover that today because it's a whole saga. But if we look at the iconic models from the 90s, Yamaha had their blasters, had their raiders, they had so many iconic models. Seadoo had their XPs, GSXs, HXs, and Kawasaki obviously had their amazing stand-up pedigree with the 550s, and they obviously had amazing sit-down models. But the X2 is one of those flagship high watermarks. Yes, it was an enthusiast ski, and it's not necessarily a ski that everyone resonated with, but it's a little bit like the Seadoo HX. If you got it and you could encapsulate the spirit of it and ride it correctly, boy, what a package it was. Now, fast forward to 2025, why I think that's relevant in terms of giving you that historical segue is if you're anyone new, the young riders that are going to keep this sport going long after all of the gatekeepers from back in the day have kind of moved away from the sport or vacate their positions for the younger guys, is if you get more excitement into riding, and I believe excitement comes from rider connection to the water, effort level, having to work at something, I think the younger riders would resonate with something more like a 160, SX-X 160. I lied, I said it again. I do think that that style of riding where you fall off, you get back on, you have to learn and get your stripes for your riding is the spirit that we need in the PWC world. Now we have it in the Spark and we have it in the Jetblaster, and that's all great. But I'm talking about bringing back true rider input into these skis. It's not even comparable modern day sit-down machines to the 90s, so it's not worth comparing in that regard. There are some similarities, which I'm covering at the moment in various different videos with the Jetblaster and the Spark and how the XPs compare and all that sort of stuff. But what I'm really interested in is skis that can actually bring back the lightweight connection with the water, but doing it in a modern day reality, if that makes sense. And I think a stand-up based hull is obviously longer now, it's heavier now, but it still will inherently require that much more technicality than a traditional sit-down model. As soon as you see that fixed handlebar and you see them leaning over into the corners and you see the water spray and you see the aggression in the riding, these are all things I associate. And I love the punch of the green. I do like the white from the traditional X2, and if they would have brought that back, I think one of the problems that we do see now, modern PWCs, is the actual engineers and the people probably working on these skis right now. There's maybe a handful of the old guard engineers that are actually still working on them. But I do think that there's a new philosophy in these companies and big corps. So they maybe don't get the importance of maybe having an X2 colorway, but the black and green looks really, really nice. And the way that I'm seeing these guys riding the 160, I do think it's akin to what I've been banging on for so long. And so many of you guys who watch the video, I mean, it's only a short video, it's 59 seconds. I've not seen tons of press around this model. Kawasaki, hit me up. I'd love to make videos for you guys on it. It's been a model that's kind of largely slipped under the radar. And I think that's because not a lot of people understand what it is, even more so because not a lot of people understood what the X2 was. And unless you're a die-hard enthusiast, it's very, very hard for a sit-down rider to look at this. It's a little bit like last year when I made the video around the GTR X300 Polytech 2 hull, and everyone just looked at the size of that machine and didn't understand what I was getting at when I was talking about the connection of the hull and what it meant spiritually. Yes, it was a huge hull, but it spiritually did a lot of what the 90 ski's done. And I believe that this spiritually could do that as well. Does it mean that I'm going to throw all of my sit-downs away? Absolutely not. There are those days where I can be a playful hooligan, jump waves, but then Megs can jump on the back. And there is that category defining difference between a sit-down and a stand-up. That's never going to go away. So this is not me saying, get rid of your Spark, get rid of your XP, move to a new SX-X1. Just keep saying XXXX 160. It's me saying, if you're getting frustrated and you want to push yourself more technically, maybe consider looking at this model. It's a model and a platform at the moment that I think Kawasaki are trialing. They'll see how receptive we are to it. I'm kind of feeling as if, like with Yamaha, with calling it the Jetblaster, Kawasaki have dropped the ball a little bit with not directly calling it the X2, and maybe putting a little, even if it is a pathetic seat in there, just bring back the complete spirit. Now, I know they don't want to do that because they've essentially ripped the stand-up R platform and then put a fixed handlebar. It's way easier to do from an engineering point of view versus creating a whole new hull, which is the X2 spirit. Guys, I hope you liked that video of me looking at the Kawasaki SX-X Sorry it's taken a little while. I know a lot of you guys are sending messages saying, Joe, please make a review video. I've not obviously seen a ton of information on it. There really is a host of press images, the promotional video, Kevin for the Watercraft Journal, go check him out. He's made some cool videos on it, but there's not tons and tons of video of it yet. I'm not sure how many of them came into the dealerships. Hopefully more information comes out and I can make you more videos on it. I would love to test one for sure. I'm gonna be bringing stand-up skis into my collection, so this might be a cool ski to test in and amongst that. As always, guys, thank you for watching the videos. Tons is happening with classic jet skis because of you guys. So please hit the subscribe button, please share the video around. And as always, the philosophy is always the same. Even if I'm talking about new, you've just heard me kind of pushing in the X2, even though I'm talking about a modern day ski. The philosophy is always the same. Keep the classics alive.